All right. Iran was never about Iran. What the hell are they talking about? Let's get into this one. This one here is by Andre Jeek. I'm probably saying that wrong like hell, bro. It is what it is, though. I apologize in advance, bro.
So about 2 months ago, I made a video saying that Iran would be next after Venezuela. And I wish I was wrong, but on February 27th, Iran agreed to nuclear inspections. And then 1 day later, the United States bombed them.
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest...
The lamest name ever, bro. Epic Fury. Dog, do you know how childish of a president you have to be like, I'm going to sign off on that name? He probably created it, honestly. Let's call it, let's call it Epstein Fury.
Most complex, most overwhelming military offensives.
That means the US is now at war with a country of 92 million people. And that's what's happening right now. The question that I think we're all trying to understand is why? Because official explanation doesn't make any sense. The official explanation is this was not a regime change war, but their regime is gone. And that the nuclear program was the threat, but we already destroyed it 8 months ago with Operation Midnight Hammer. That Iran was about to attack the...
Did y'all hear that? Midnight Hammer. You really can't make this shit up.
US because they had the capability to make nuclear weapons, but the Senate Intelligence Committee says they saw no evidence of any threat.
They never do, bro. Listen, with Afghanistan, they didn't have no real credible evidence to suggest that they have nuclear capabilities, bro. But everybody in America, folks, signed off on it and supported that damn war, bro.
There was no imminent threat to the United States of America by the Iranians.
That's why all of this is so confusing, because nothing makes any logical sense. And that's why I wanted to make this video. Because the truth is that all of this is very logical because it has been planned for the last 30 years.
Oh, really?
And I'm going to show you the 4 different power players that all wanted this to happen and what their interests actually are. If we follow the money far enough, we'll come to a theory that connects all of this. And that theory has to do with something called the control grid and power over the flow of money. So with that said, let me explain who this benefits, how this affects investors, and what the heck is happening. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the geopolitical rabbit holes that keep me up at night. So let's talk about why this is happening beyond the official narrative that we're told about. There are 4 major theories that explain it. There's 4 interest groups, all with credible evidence. And let me just start with the elephant in the room, which is Israel. Okay, so why do people think Israel forced the US to go to war? Evidence number 1 is a video of Marco Rubio explaining why this happened.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed.
So Marco told Congress, we knew there was going to be an Israeli action, so we struck preemptively. He's saying Israel was going to do this no matter what. And once Israel hit Iran, Iran was going to retaliate against the US by attacking US military bases. And because Israel made this inevitable choice, the US was forced into it as a preemptive action.
How about this? Hey, Israel, listen, we understand you got beef, but let's just not do it because you're going to drag us into it. Nah, they didn't say that. Let's hit them bitches first, man. We riding for Israel, dog. We ride at night, goddammit. That's what they said, man. Shit.
Now, another piece of evidence is an incredible interview with a former CIA officer, John Kiriakou. I'll leave a link down below to the podcast, but John claims that Israel essentially gave the US an ultimatum. His words, Israel said to the US, bomb Iran's nuclear facilities or we will use our own weapons to do it.
The reason, though, I'm told, that Donald Trump decided to bomb Iran was that the Israelis said, for the first time, if you don't bomb Iran to take out these deep bunkers, we're going to use nuclear weapons. And they had never threatened that before. And so Trump said, bombing Iran might actually save us from the start of World War III if it keeps the Israelis from using nuclear weapons.
Shit, dog. Israel, hey, bro, listen. Israel, the type of place, bro, they gonna do you dirty. You take one of theirs, they gonna take 1,000 of yours, dog. And they the type of people, they gonna do it, bro. So I feel like his hand was forced. They forced his hand because Israel, they make a threat, they gonna follow through with it, bro. Man, listen, I ain't gonna say too much, but you know what I'm saying.
That's the whole reason behind Operation Midnight Hammer, the initial strikes against Iran, which was to prevent World War III or an all-out nuclear war from starting. Right? Now, Israel has never officially acknowledged having nuclear weapons, but a lot of experts believe they do, even though they've never said it. So if John Kiriaku's source is accurate, Israel threatened to use weapons it has never admitted to having, which forced the United States into a war to prevent a potentially much bigger one involving nuclear weapons from starting.
Hey, seems like to me common sense tells us that Israel got nuclear warheads. Because why would you take a threat like that seriously if they didn't, or you didn't believe strongly that they did?
That's a huge claim. It hasn't been independently verified, but it does have a lot of credible evidence. Now, even if we discount him and we don't believe him, the third piece of evidence comes from the source, from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been pushing for an attack and a regime change in Iran since the mid-1990s.
They need a puppet over there.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years. By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks. The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons.
Bro, they've been weeks away since 2008, man. Come on, bro. These people be playing in our faces, dog. Quick side note, at least once a day, I get a comment or an email asking, how do I do this YouTube thing? How do I make reaction videos? If you're interested in making money on YouTube and not just arguing in the comment sections, I run a private YouTube growth group. We do weekly calls, live channel audits, and you get to see how other creators are making money. Plus how I got this channel to where it's at 37,000 today when it only had 3,000 in October, and how I plan on making this channel go to 100K before the end of the year. Link in the description.
Would place a militant Islamic terror regime weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
So at this time in 2025, bro, 2025 minus 2002 is what, 23 years? He's been saying there could be weeks, a year away for the last 23 years, dog.
Than a year.
So if you've been paying attention at all, this has been the project for 30 years. This was the goal, and it happened. So that's power player number one. Israel wanted Iran's regime gone, and they got it with American firepower, American service members, and American money. And in the grand context of power, who does this benefit? It benefits
Israel,
the military-industrial complex, which some people call the neocons. Right, that's power player number one. The second theory is even more interesting. Now let's talk about the second theory, which says the reason why all of this is happening has all to do with China. Because the number one goal of the United States right now is to destabilize the rise of China's economy. How do we know
Good luck with that shit. How do you do that? Good luck, because China got their shit together. What I mean by that is they be doing these 5-year plans. They meet up, and guess what? The whole country got to get on board. It's hard to stop a country where everybody got to do what the person in charge says they got to do. It ain't like that in America. If they was like, everybody got to start making electric cars, it's not going to happen. People still going to produce gasoline cars. But in China, if they say this is the direction that we are moving in, that's what they're doing. And right now they're trying to make their economy more internal. In other words, instead of doing so much international trade, they want to be doing more domestic trade so that they can have their GDP really be substantiated by domestic trade. That is crazy because they're trying to cut the rest of the world off and not need the rest of the world to get money. Yeah, good luck with that shit, dog.
We know this because this was documented in the Monroe Doctrine, like the Monroe Doctrine, but Donald Trump's version. The way to disrupt China's economy and get leverage is, for example, cutting China off the cheap oil they were getting from Venezuela, and the cheap silver they were getting from Latin America, and now the cheap oil they were getting from Iran. This is where something called the Strait of Hormuz comes in. There's this body of water between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula called the Strait of Hormuz. It's very narrow, but about a quarter of the world's supply of oil passes through this tiny little point. And as of right now, it's shut down. Traffic has dropped 70%. There's over 150 ships just sitting there waiting. And insurance companies have suspended their coverage, which is basically a financial kill switch. Because if you can't get insurance, they can't ship their oil to places like China. So as a result, oil has gone up in price. And analysts are saying if this close lasts more than a couple weeks, we could see $100 or higher for a barrel of oil.
I heard estimates as high as 130 to 150. And the crazy thing about this is when this thing does turn back on, it takes time for things to get back to normal because we was pushed back in time, right? So it ain't gonna just fix itself overnight because it didn't happen overnight. So yeah, bro, this is interesting. And then I watched a video because, you know, my channel is mostly black people watching me, how gasoline prices affect black people more than it affect anybody else in this country when they go up because of the, you know, people who are living below the poverty line, just the way that we are living in this country, it affects us more. I might actually do a reaction to that to show y'all, but I just wanted to let y'all know that.
Gas prices at the pump are also projected to go up 10 to 30 cents a gallon in the short term.
It did.
That's the optimistic scenario. Now hold on. How does this benefit the U.S.? This benefits the U.S. because this hurts Iran. What hurts Iran hurts China because China buys a lot of Iranian oil. So from a sovereign powers perspective, right? So from the perspective of the United States, this is a strategic win because it makes China more dependent on U.S. oil. And if the U.S. can control the supplies of oil around the world, that is leverage. Now, obviously, U.S. oil companies will also benefit. ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips. Their costs will stay the same, but the price of what they're selling is going up. Every dollar increase in crude oil translates to higher profit margins for them, aka those companies make more money. But this also benefits the dollar because oil is still priced in dollars.
The petrodollar.
So when oil prices go up, global demand for dollars goes up with it. And we can even see that in the data when we look at the Dixie Index, which measures the strength of the dollar relative to other currencies. That is getting stronger. Some people argue this is a way of saving the global hegemon that is the dollar system. Now, if this theory sounds crazy to you, believe it or not, this was predicted on video by a Russian politician as early as 2013.
So what's their plan? They still need to occupy 7 more Arab countries, crush Syria, and destroy Iran with a military strike. America needs to weaken China. If Iran is struck, oil prices will soar to $200 per barrel. The Chinese economy won't be able to withstand that. And the European Union won't withstand it either. So, by striking Iran, America weakens both the EU and China.
So higher oil prices and flow controls benefits the dollar, the U.S. corporations, and hurts adversaries like China and the European Union.
But the crazy thing is Iran knew this already, and they've been preparing for this for the last 20 years, minimum. They ain't sleep. They ain't stupid. They got underground missile launchers. They got places where they can go hide underground, and we don't know where the hell they at. And I can prove that we don't know too much because they using outdated maps and things of that nature. And that's how you end up getting a little girl school struck with a missile because they was using outdated intel. So yeah, bro, we don't know what them people got over there, and they got the power to wait us out. So I don't necessarily believe this plan is going to be 100% fail-proof because right now they threatening the U.S. By Trump saying that he'll send naval carrier ships to escort these tankers, and these naval ships are threatened to be bombed by Iran. They said, yeah, send them. And, they might start off in the Persian, but they're going to end up on a Persian Gulf floor. That's what he said.
And that was planned a long time ago. So that is the second theory. The third theory is that this is all to benefit the financial industrial complex, which are the real powers behind the people who got the president elected. So who am I talking about specifically?
Who you talking about, Playboy?
This is the big money donors. This is a list of Trump's top 20 donors. There's $635 million in total. Look at this as a map of every interest we just talked about. For example, number 1, Timothy Mellon, old banking and transportation dynasty, financial industrial complex. Number 2, Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, XAI. His companies hold billions and billions in Pentagon contracts, and his AI company just entered a program to build autonomous drone swarms for the military. That's the technological industrial complex and the military industrial complex in one person.
This is wild.
There's number 3, Miriam Adelson. She has spent decades as the single biggest pro-Israel donor in American politics. She's been pushing for a regime change in Iran. That's $105 million towards the policy we just watched happen. Right? Number 7, Ike Perlmutter, former chairman of Marvel, served on Trump's informal defense advisory council. There's number 9, Robert Bigelow, Bigelow Aerospace, Defense and Space. Right? These are military industrial complex adjacent donors. There's number 10, Kelsey Warren, runs Energy Transfer Partners, one of the biggest oil and gas pipeline companies in the country. Higher oil prices from a Hormuz shutdown go straight to his bottom line.
Ain't that a
That's
bitch?
the oil interest, right? Number 15, Howard Lutnick, indirect ties to Cantor Fitzgerald, has huge interests in Tether and whose company allegedly bet against the tariff policy while advising the president on the same policies, right? He's now the Commerce Secretary. There's number 16, Paul Singer, runs one of the most powerful hedge funds on earth. His fund's most recent public filings show hundreds of millions of dollars in defense and energy index funds, which all went up the moment the strikes started.
Ain't that something, bro? That's insider trading, bro. No, they not playing by the rules that we play by as normal civilians, bro. They just not. These people got 10, 15, 20-year plans to just line their pockets, dog. Crazy.
So here we have tech, defense, right? Oil, finance, Israel, every interest group that is represented
wild.
here.
Man, let me
this is
screenshot
their
this
return
shit.
on investment, and this is only what we know publicly. Now, some people also believe this has all been prearranged, right? Like the deal was made a while ago, and what we're watching on TV and social media is all just theater. Now, if you assume for a moment that this is true, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But if it's true, then why bomb a whole country? If this was pre-negotiated, why just not do it peacefully? And the answer, from the military-industrial complex perspective, is that this operation was a live product demonstration. What does that mean? It means every weapon system just got used, right? B-2 bombers, Tomahawk cruise missiles, F-22s, F-35s. This has all been shown on every news network and social media in the world. You could not buy this kind of advertising. Every country watching this is now thinking about what they need to buy, either to do what America just did or to defend against it.
Oh, wow.
That is worth hundreds of billions of dollars in future sales and billions more in stock appreciation.
Nah, this guy's good, bro. Yeah, he doesn't miss. In the heat of battle, he doesn't miss. In the face of adversity, dog, he putting this shit together because a lot of this stuff I can get with. I ain't gonna lie, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. This ain't nothing but a big ass marketing ploy. Shit, they got tomahawks. We need them too, goddammit. It's kind of like that joke that your boy said. I don't know if it was Red Fox or if it was Richard Pryor, but the joke goes like this. I read in an article that, I don't know, 9 out of 10 Americans own a gun or a knife. So I went out the next day and bought me one. This is the same rhetoric right here, dog. If they got them, I need them too.
Because we know war is good for business. So that's
Ain't that
theory
something?
and power player number 3. Now, if you made it this far, congratulations, because this is the 4th theory, and it is by far the most interesting one. It's going to tie all of this together.
Even more interesting than
This
last.
theory says the reason why all of this is happening is because of the technological industrial complex's digital control grid. So let me tell you something crazy that just happened. The US military used an AI called Claude made by a company called Anthropic. It was used to help plan these strikes for target identification, battle simulations, and intelligence analysis.
Sources tell CBS News the U.S. military used Claude for its attack on Iran over the weekend. Now, the Pentagon's ongoing use of Anthropic's AI model comes despite a falling out with the company over its refusal to grant the military unrestricted access to the technology.
Which means we are now living in a time when AI helps plan a war. Like, just sit with that for a second. That is crazy. Here's where it gets crazier. Just hours after the strikes, Trump signed an executive order banning federal agencies from using Anthropic's technology.
What?
Why was it banned? It was banned because the CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, publicly said no to the government. He said no to fully autonomous weapons and mass domestic surveillance. The U.S. responded by saying, all right, you are now a supply chain risk to national security.
Oh my God.
That's a label normally reserved for foreign companies, but this has never been used against a U.S. company before.
Wow.
And on the exact same day, OpenAI, which is Anthropic's biggest competitor, signed a deal with the Pentagon.
So ChatGPT.
Now,
basically.
hours after the Trump administration ditched Anthropic over the dispute, OpenAI swooped in and struck its own deal with the Pentagon.
So the message to every AI company in the world right now is that if you say yes to the military and yes to the U.S. government, you will get the contract. But if you say no, you will be treated like a foreign enemy. Hold on, it gets way crazier. When Iran retaliated, guess what they attacked? One of their targets was Amazon Web Services data centers in the UAE and Bahrain, not military bases. Iran attacked the cloud computing infrastructure.
AWS has confirmed objects struck the site.
Oh, wow.
Sparks, fire. The UAE Fire Department cut the power to the entire building.
That is the first time in history that commercial data centers have been physically targeted. By the way, those are the servers that run huge parts of the internet like, banking data and host businesses. And these are now military targets. People are calling this the beginning of techno-feudal wars,
Ain't this something?
where the military uses AI to plan the attack and the enemy retaliates by bombing the servers. Which means our digital and physical worlds are now colliding. So what happens next? Well, this needs to be a separate video, but I want to give credit to Catherine Austin Fitts. Who is that? She was...
That's Mrs. Doubtfire. That's who that is, dog. Shit, man. You can't tell me that ain't Robin Williams under that boy. Hey, real talk, bro.
the Assistant Secretary of Housing under George H.W. Bush. She managed hundreds of billions of dollars in government money. She ran a Wall Street investment bank. And she has a theory that connects all of these wars into one grand theory.
Talk to me.
This is something I've talked about in my last few videos, so I hope you've been subscribed, but here's the theory. She says what's being built right now is a global financial control grid. It has three parts to it. The first part is programmable money, aka money with rules. Money that knows where it can be spent, when it expires, who's spending it, and can be shut off remotely.
Jesus Christ.
The second part is the control grid, right? The digital identity system that is linked to that money. Digital IDs, right? Most likely using biometric data like fingerprints, retinal scans, things like that. And the third part is the physical infrastructure, things like data centers, cameras, satellites, fiber optic networks. Hold on, how does this all fit into Iran? Well, here's a fun fact. Iran's central bank is not part of the Western financial system. It sits outside this control grid. And Iran's oil going to China in non-dollar currencies is not good for that system because it's not controlled by the Western financial infrastructure.
Oh, hey, bro. No offense, Andre Jike. This some white supremacy shit right here, bro. It is what it is, man. They want everything under their control.
Iran is the last piece of this puzzle because it's what puts pressure and challenges the ultimate adversary in this tech race, which is China. How do we know this? We know this because in 2007, the former NATO Supreme Commander, General Wesley Clark, shortly after 9/11, was shown a memo at the Pentagon listing 7 countries to be taken down in 5 years. That list included Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. We have now been involved in all of them. Iran was the last one on that list.
We got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Damn.
Okay, so then the question is, when does this control grid take effect? What now? Nobody knows. But there might be more regional wars and special operations. For example, Taiwan is of very specific interest, but that's another video for another time. Right now, there's bills in Congress that will make this possible, like the Genius Act, which creates a legal framework for stablecoins, and the Clarity Act, which creates a framework for tokenizing financial assets. Catherine Fitz argues these are the legal building blocks for programmable money. You don't need a government-issued central bank digital currency if private stablecoins will do the exact same thing. And this is exactly what Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the biggest asset manager on the planet, has been saying for years.
Hey, if he's saying it, it got weight behind it, straight up. You know, that's a dude that know money. He got connections. His network is crazy. He got power. He got influence. Bro, you got to take something like that serious coming from somebody like that.
Even at the most recent World Economic Forum.
We believe the next step going forward will be the tokenization of financial assets. And that means every stock, every bond will have its own, basically, CUSIP. It'll be on one general ledger.
He wants to tokenize every financial asset in the world as fast as possible.
Wow, bro.
Which means, in the very near future, we're going to see corporations issuing their own programmable money. And if you remember,
we cannot give these corporations this much power over us, bro. Oh, Lord, bro. They stressing me out, dog. I didn't think I'd be faced with this when I became an adult. I just thought adulthood was going to be so lit. I'm going to be able to do whatever I want. When I start making money, life going to be so enjoyable. Now I'm dealing with this bullshit here.
Exactly what Russia accused the U.S. of preparing to do, where allegedly the U.S. will dump the entire debt burden on the rest of the world.
Со временем, когда часть госдолга США будет размещена в стейблкоинах, США обесценит этот долг. Еще раз простыми словами. У них сейчас валютный 35-триллионный долг. Они его загоняют в крипту, в облако, обесценивают и начинают с нуля.
The U.S. will not be paying anything back. It will just redistribute the debt throughout the world using these stablecoins and CBDCs by giving the powers of the banking system to the corporations.
Oh, wow.
Right? This is the legacy of the dollar. I don't think the dollar is going to go away quietly. That's its last frontier. In the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories on what you think is happening and how you're investing. If you want to see my portfolio, you can go to fundvest.com and sign up to track your own investments as well as mine. But as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to see you back here next week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, Andre, boy, I feel you, boy. I know what I'm talking about. Let's get into these comments, man. I said this in the video. Iran has been a few weeks away from developing nukes for 30 years. They have, man. Netanyahu been saying that shit since... God damn. Andre is not suicidal. He is not. I'm shocked that I actually understood what you were getting across. Well done and thanks. Truly mind-boggling. I like people that know how to dumb shit down for people like me. Anthropic CEO is so based for not allowing them to use Claude to fight wars. What a legend. Who else is not too surprised about any of these? I need to get off my phone. Good night. If the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. You know, that's a bar, bro. That's a bar. I need more puppy videos to balance my stress. Dude, how do you research all this? Your geopolitical videos of the last weeks and months are spot on. You would have to go through several other channels to get all of this information, and nowhere in is condensed like this. Great stuff. Cheers to your work, man. Good shit. So it is not the elephant in the room, but the devil himself. 1020. Well, 3 days later, oil is already over $100. Man, that's interesting. I want to see something right now. How much is oil per barrel today? The price of Brent crude oil is 86 per barrel, 88. I'm seeing different numbers. 90. Damn. Okay, price of oil yesterday was 92. Price of oil 1 month ago was 69. Price of oil 1 year ago was 70. Yeah. Will oil prices go up? Nobody can predict the future path of oil prices with certainty. A range of factors influence how oil trades, yet supply and demand remain the main drivers. When fears of economic slowdown, conflict, or similar shocks rise, oil prices can move sharply. Yeah, bro, this is interesting to say the least. But man, I ain't gonna lie, I'm probably about to subscribe to this dude's channel, man. I like what he was putting down, dog. Real talk. Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hype it, man. Real talk. Hype the video for your boy. If you ain't no real, I'm playing, but hype it. I'm gonna get at y'all on the next one.